The Namibian genocide carried out between 1904 and 1908 stands as a paradigmatic example of systematic, state-orchestrated violence against the Herero and Nama peoples by German colonial authorities. Motivated by imperialist ambitions and a racial ideology that deemed indigenous peoples inferior, German forces embarked on a campaign of extermination. Approximately 80,000 Herero and Nama were killed, making it the first genocide of the 20th century. The immediate impacts included mass killings, forced displacements, and the establishment of concentration camps, where deaths from dehydration, starvation, disease, and forced labor were widespread. The genocide resulted in demographic collapse, destruction of livestock, and the disintegration of entire communities. However, its legacy endures as Herero and Nama descents remain among the economically and socially disadvantaged in Namibia, with much of the fertile land still owned by descendants of German settlers. This persistent inequality underscores the genocide's ongoing relevance and links directly to its lasting political, economic, cultural, and social consequences. Furthermore, the genocide meets the criteria outlined in the 1948 United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The Germans specifically targeted the Herero and Nama with the intent to destroy them in whole or in part, as ethnic groups. The genocide followed several of the 10 stages of genocide, including discrimination, organization, and dehumanization. These actions, along with their bureaucratic precision, prefigured policies later implemented by the Nazi regime. This has led to the genocidal intent that is clearly demonstrated in General Lothar von Trotha's notorious extermination order. He instructed German troops to drive the Herero into the desert and deny them access to water, stating, "Any Herero found inside the German border with or without a gun, with or without cattle, will be shot. I do not accept women or children anymore. They must be driven back to their people or fired on." As a result, thousands perished on the Hamake Desert from thirst and starvation, a calculated act of annihilation. Survivors were imprisoned in concentration camps such as Shark Island, where they endured forced labor, starvation, and rampant disease. The British Blue Book of 1918 contains first-hand accounts detailing the horrific conditions in these camps. They were forced to work under the whip with little food or water, and many died from exhaustion, disease, or maltreatment. These testimonies provide irrefutable evidence of the institutionalized brutality inflicted upon the Herero and Nama. Beyond ideology, the genocide was also driven by economic motives. German settlers coveted the land and cattle of the Herero and Nama, which formed the backbone of their communities and economies. The colonial administration viewed these indigenous peoples as obstacles to economic development. Through provocation, violence, and genocide, German authorities aimed to seize land and resources. Survivors were later forced into labor, often on land that had been taken from them. This strategy not enabled economic exploitation, but also entrenched economic inequality that persists today. The short-term impacts were devastating. Herero survivors were driven into the desert, where most died, with the Nama suffering similarly. Between 24,000 and 100,000 Herero with 10,000 Nama were killed, and up to 80% of the Herero population and 50% of the Nama population were annihilated. Survivors were confined to concentration camps where they faced forced labor, starvation, and abuse. German authorities confiscated land and livestock, stripping these groups of their economic and cultural foundations. The long-term impacts continue to affect Namibia today. Descendants of the Herero and Nama remain among the poorest and most marginalized. Much of the country's arable land remains in the hands of white descendants of German settlers. Survivors and their descendants were denied property, identity, and cultural continuity, leading to the intergenerational trauma. This legacy fuels ongoing debates about the land reform, historical justice, and reparations. Although Germany has acknowledged the genocide and offered development aid, many Herero and Nama leaders argue that reparations and meaningful recognition remain elusive. In conclusion, the Namibian genocide reveals the devastating intersection of racism, economic exploitation, and bureaucratic violence. Its immediate horrors and long-term consequences underscore the importance of historical memory and justice. Recognizing the enduring impact of this atrocity is essential for understanding Namibia's present and for advocating equity, reparations, and reconciliation.